And I'd like to call this meeting to order. And, I think as a grandfather and as a father, I'd like to welcome, I see that there's so many more students and children here, and I think it's a blessing. So I'd like to say welcome to all of you who are new and first time here. And bienvenidos a ustedes que hablan español también, hermanos y papás, los padres. Muchas gracias por estar aquí, porque es importante que los estudiantes, the students and young people be here and be part of the board. Thank you. Are there any changes in the agenda? Do we need to adopt the agenda?
I don't believe so. No changes?
Oh, Linda just got here.
Kathy?
Computer.
No changes to the agenda?
No changes.
I don't have any.
No.
Okay.
Motion to approve?
Motion to adopt the agenda, I'm sorry. Second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor of adopting the agenda?
Aye?
Aye.
Andale. Nobody's against. No discussion. And so we'll start right away, Randy, with the president's report.
I'm going to be very brief tonight. I just want to let everybody know that several of the board members and myself were in Washington, D.C. last week for the Association of Community College Trustees Conference. We met with both Senator Udall and Senator Heinrich and Congressman Lujan, and we had great meetings on Capitol Hill. Legislature is still in session. We still don't know what the outcome is going to be, but as of right now, what's in the bill for the budget bill for the college looks good. What's in there for capital outlay looks good. But since they don't adjourn until noon Thursday and they still haven't got the bill out of the committee yet, we're just keeping our fingers crossed on that. I'd like to recognize a couple people in the audience tonight before we get into the presentation on the kids' campus, and that is Nan Schwanfelder and Kim Strauss from the Brindle Foundation.
On behalf of the board, thank you. Thank you so much for your support.
They have funded quite a bit of the operations and special projects that we've been doing in the kids' campus, and I think you're going to hear about some of those tonight. So let's go into the presentation then on the kids' campus. And Maggie, is it you and Bob, or just you? Just me. Welcome, Maggie's in.
Nervous.
Don't be.
Just came from the doctor's office and she wanted to keep me for observation. My blood pressure was so high.
Oh, dear.
I said, no, I can't stay.
Maggie, can you pull the microphone over just a little bit towards you?
This isn't my presentation.
But our students do graduate.
They do graduate.
Eventually.
Me too. Hold on. That's the one we tested though, Meg. There.
There you go.
Here we go. Mr. Chair, members of the board, Mr. President, thank you for the opportunity to present Kids Campus. Bob McWilliams wants me to point out that all of the photographs in the presentation are of children from the program, families and teachers. None are from Photoshop or clip art. So that said, let's proceed. We need a major shift in social policy towards early intervention with later interventions designed to reinforce those early efforts. And interventions should address socio-emotional skills, not just cognitive abilities. And that is a quote by James Heckman, Nobel Prize-winning economist. New Mexico is number 50 in child well-being in the United States. And Kids Campus is raising the bar for the children in our community. Kids Campus program mainly focuses on high-quality childcare and education services. However, additionally, we provide lab services to the SFCC Early Childhood Education program and contribute to student success through serving children of students at the college. The formula for fiduciary responsibility course, is an additional emphasis, and each focus is approached systematically so that adaptive applications can be applied. Simply put, we adapt. Families are students of SFCC, community members, SFCC staff, faculty, graduates of SFCC, HEC students, and every family falls into at least two of the categories. Would the families of Kids Campus please stand and be acknowledged? Students who have young children are able to go to school. The number one predictor for children's school success is the level of education of the mother. Ole Working Parents Association and Early Educators United say that 94 early childhood education centers closed in New Mexico between September 2011 and September 2013 due to lack of adequate funding. Neuroscience and behavioral science have both proven that children start learning prenatally. The curriculum at Kids Campus addresses the whole child, the full spectrum of skills, knowledge, and information that children need to thrive. According to the U.S. Department of Labor, 65% of today's grade school children will end up in a job that has not even been invented yet. And every 12 months, the body of human knowledge doubles. Thank goodness for our tablets. I've titled these slides and divided them in STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math, to make the point that children, even very, very young, are developing skills and knowledge in these vital areas. For example, in the lower right-hand corner, I think that bears a striking resemblance to the new aquaponics lab. Engineering, of course, blocks being a major part of engineering feats. Favorite quote by Albert Einstein: "Imagination is more important than knowledge, for knowledge is limited to all we now know and understand, while imagination embraces the entire world and all there ever will be to know and understand." At Kids Campus, we individually focus on the development and learning of each child. Two of the main skills needed for the 21st century are critical thinking and communication. Both are an ongoing focus at Kids Campus. This is the STEM program math. These are the pre-calc students and physics students. One of the most amazing things about mathematics is the people who do math aren't usually interested in its application, because mathematics itself is truly a beautiful art form. Its structures and patterns, and that's what we love. And that's what the children at Kids Campus are able to engage in every single day. Teachers educate and provide experience for the children with intentional, reflective, and a creative approach. They scaffold the exploration, extend the engagement, and celebrate the excitement of learning. Classroom as community is very important. Consistency of caregivers, predictable daily routines with warm social and emotional support. And I want to point out a specific photo on this slide as well. In the upper right-hand corner, the little girl holding court there is Alex Mitchell's daughter. Leadership skills are inherited. Another important focus of the social emotional support that we provide children is recent research in toxic stress. Because toxic stress literally causes the higher functions of the brain to shut down, therefore preventing the ability to learn. So the importance of having a warm, safe, caring environment actually enables those hormones to turn on the brain rather than have brains that are shut down. Another Einstein quote, he's my hero. Many studies indicate that the word gap is at the core of the challenge in education. Stanford's Dr. Fernald compared how children mentally process the language they hear. Children living in adverse conditions in her study achieved at age 2 the level of proficiency that children in more favorable conditions had reached 6 months earlier. So there is a language gap between 18-month-olds and 2-year-olds. Dr. Fernald showed that at 5 years old, children from families experiencing adversity can lag 2 full years behind their peers in tests of language development, an achievement gap that is very difficult to overcome. This means not only knowing more words, but these children actually process language faster and have a more developed understanding. For example, instead of just knowing dog, they can compare and contrast a Chihuahua and a Collie. These language neuropathways for understanding must be primed for all future learning. The arts. We create and maintain a positive school culture, ensure consistency in standards and organizational direction, and practice both the craft and care of education as well as the art of teaching. So you can see a center like Kids Campus versus a standard daycare is the difference between a house kitty and a lion, though they're both cats. Due to the educational level and the commitment of the teachers and the resources afforded to us by being associated with a higher education institution, we are always coming up with new ideas, innovations to make, to provide higher level of service to the families, to the children, to streamline the pedagogical approaches and the practices in our classrooms. There has been a technology innovation that was funded by Brendel. They purchased a Surface Pro tablet for every classroom so that we can take photos and record anecdotal observations for each child on the spot, then email it to the families, drop it into a file for curriculum planning, and then also use it for the authentic assessment portfolios that we collect. The tablets are all networked so that we can see each other's portfolio collections, curriculums, and the observations. We have a bridge camp for the primary grades that takes place in the summer. Outdoor classroom, the children continue learning during recess. Planning for responsiveness. Curriculum design has been an ongoing conversation that we have. How do you plan a curriculum that requires instant adaptation in the classroom with the children? You can bring out you can fill the sensory table with water and cups, and they will find a container of cotton balls and bring it to the table and start playing with those. How do you adapt? How do you extend? So we call it planning for spontaneity. And then we have a pilot program called the apprenticeship program that would allow students in the early childhood education program at the community college to actually work at Kids Campus as apprentices with mentors in the classrooms so that when they do finish their education, they have both education and skill when they enter classrooms of their own. The success of Kids Campus is due to the daily dedication, attention, and commitment of the teachers. I'd like for the teachers of Kids Campus to rise and be acknowledged, please. Stay standing for just a minute. There's something.
Like a flower. All right.
While we're handing out the roses, let's also do the board. Are we ready for the board presents?
All right.
We have gifts for the board, too. Oh, I have to hand them out. I'm supposed to delegate them. Right. That one is for Randy.
Thank you. All right.
Made by the children.
All made by the children.
Thank you.
These are adorable. Thank you. That was fun. Thank you. Thank you. Those are lovely.
I guess there is one extra. We'll save this one for the new board member when they come on.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, teachers. Let's give them the ribbon. Too often, early childhood educators are seen as by the less informed as people who play with children and change their nappies. And obviously, these teachers are professionals, and I wanted to acknowledge that before the board. Kids Campus is SFCC Early Childhood Program's lab school. We provide 400 hours of classroom observations for SFCC students, 300 to 600 hours of practicum hours each semester of early childhood education students. We are piloting an apprenticeship program. We employ early childhood education student workers, and we're an observation site for Santa Fe Public Schools, Los Alamos High School, and Monte del Sol. So we actively participate in recruiting students for the college as well. This happened because nobody told me we didn't do this anymore. I always assumed that Kids Campus was the lab school, so when I joined the staff a couple of years ago, we took this on as an important part of our program, and then later I was informed, well, we used to do that, and I said, well, we do it now. Brundle Foundation. They have provided an opportunity grant in 2012, an opportunity grant in 2013. They provided funding for the Toy Lending Library. They fund TEACH programs, which are scholarship programs for teachers. They funded our technology grant, sponsorship for 0 to 3 Professional Development Institute for myself and a faculty member. And they are also very active in the Pinwheels for Prevention, which is what we're doing there. We're not actually sticking those things in the children's heads. They're pinwheels.
Thank you very
Thank you very much. The total has been well over $80,000 that they've given us. Would the early childhood education program students please stand? The students who, I'm sorry, I'm backtracking a little. The students who are enrolled in classes at the community college. Thank you very much. CYFD also is a wonderful partner of ours. This is our first year participating in New Mexico Pre-K. We have the CACFP Child and Adult Care Food Program. They provide child care supplements, which are inching up happily, and licensing and regulations, training and surveys. Charlotte Chavez, who is our surveyor, actually attended our staff orientation that we just had for the spring semester, which, you know, it's always wonderful to have someone who surveys to make sure that we're in compliance come and talk to the teachers about why it's important and what they do. And then we also have the TTAP, Technical Training and Assistance Program, through the Office of Child Development, although now they work for UNM instead of SFCC. The Santa Fe Community College also has an early childhood council that is working towards a fully integrated center of early childhood excellence. Would those members please rise? The Early Childhood Council represents a collection of the leaders in the field of early childhood in New Mexico. The repurposing of the TTAP building, closing of toy lending, teacher ed relocation of early childhood classes to the main campus are all of great concern to this council. The need for consistent quality is non-negotiable. To provide anything less than that would be the same thing as allowing a literature class instructor to assign only the first and last chapters. The key to success at Kids Campus is through having qualified teaching staff, full enrollment combined with excellent administrative fiduciary oversight. This is the last slide. Yay. Children who participate in early childhood development programs, when compared with children who don't, are more likely to enroll in school, plan their families, become productive adults, and educate their own children. They're also less likely to repeat a grade, drop out of school, or engage in criminal activities. ChildcareNet, a major resource for starting your own child care facility, says on its home page, private centers rely on parent fees to operate, and it severely limits the program in order to remain competitive. Time spent worrying about how to stay in the black would be better served in thinking about enhancing a program, professional development for staff, or receive accreditation. Kids Campus provides the highest quality care and education to the children, serves the students in the community, and provides vital services to SFCC and the Early Childhood Education Program. Thank you very much for your time. It has been a tremendous honor to present Kids Campus to you tonight.
Do you have any questions?
Great work, thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
Nan, a quick question for you. So this summer you started the pilot program of doing some college classes, basically for students, or special classes for students. How did that pilot go? I know that was new for us. Did we have students who were interested in those summer programs? Did we enroll? And are we continuing on? Do you want to do that again?
Yes, the Bridge program was designed to serve the later part of early childhood. Early childhood goes all the way up to age 8. So kindergarten through third grade, that being a really critical time for development for children, we decided to offer the same developmentally appropriate, center-based learning for children from the community and at Kids Campus. And it was successful. Certainly room for growth, always room for growth after a first year, but we do intend to continue that.
Very good. Thank you.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Linda.
So in this legislative session, there's quite an expansion for pre-K. In fact, there's $2 million which will be available for all-day pre-K. Is that something we would apply for?
I believe that we would probably, due to the program design of New Mexico Pre-K, would probably offer 2 half-days rather than 1 full day. The population that's served by New Mexico Pre-K, unfortunately, is not the population that has progressed through Kids Campus. The 3-year-olds who have been in our programs since birth are not eligible for New Mexico Pre-K services. And so we would need to open a pre-K classroom for those children, right, and then have a secondary New Mexico Pre-K program. And it would probably work out logistically to have 2 half-days.
Do we do 2 half-days now or just 1?
We do 1 program, and then we offer wraparound services that are either paid by tuition or by the childcare supplement.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. Yes.
So years ago, when I worked early childhood, it was really difficult to get male instructors and work studies and stuff. Is it still the same?
We have 2 staff members who are men at this point. I would love to have more. We have hired many men over the years, and many of them have larger ambitions and different life goals, and it would be wonderful to have more men on staff.
Well, I still, as part of my, my culture, I really feel that, women carry the culture. They really do. But I think that having the, thank you. Just to have that one role model there, whatever. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Sure. Chris.
Any other
Go
questions?
ahead, Randy.
Yes.
I'd like to just make a couple of comments. I did attend the advisory committee meeting on Friday, and we had a great meeting and talked about going forward and doing things. I want to really thank Maggie and Bob and all of you who work in the center to get it where it is today, to get us to where we're financially more stable than we've been in a long time. But I just want to reiterate publicly in front of the parents and the faculty and the staff that are here too, that I'm very committed to keeping the Kids Campus going and making this a strong integration with our early childhood education, even more than it is today. It started that way. I was here when we opened the campus, and Tish Wilson, who was on the committee and I don't think could be here tonight. I was fortunate enough to meet Tish and hire her to be our first director over there. So we're going to work to make this the best center it can be, more integrated with our early childhood education programs if possible, but at the same time keeping mindful that we've got to try to break even. Maybe I don't think making money is necessarily what we do. We want to minimize the amount of subsidy, and we've done a good job of that. Especially we've seen the results over this past year of the last 2 years' work in getting there. So I want to thank Maggie, I want to thank you, and I want to thank all of you who work in the center for what you do in helping our children. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Employee of the month.
Okay, Employee of the Month. Deborah Carr, you're going to recognize somebody, right?
And poor Paul.
Poor Paul. That's who you recognize.
Was unable to be here tonight, but we do have a picture of what Paul, his area of work over in Continuing Ed. So I nominated Paul because of his great work, and he is kind of like the SFCC plastic surgeon. He keeps us all beautiful and tight, and everybody sees him on a ladder or on a scaffolding like this. And Paul was unable to be here because he has a second job. But he did give me a statement, which I'm going to read. He would like to thank me for nominating him for January's Employee of the Month. The positive energy I feel from faculty, staff, and students here at SFCC makes my job enjoyable, and I am grateful for the opportunity to be part of this great institution. My heartfelt thanks goes to those who tell me every day how much they appreciate my work. I think he's the only employee here at the college where everybody critiques him, not just his boss. And he's done a great job on the campus, and we all appreciate him. So, sorry you couldn't be here, Paul.
Thank you. And Perla Aranda nominated Bernadette Gonzalez, and Donna's going to read, because Perla retired and she's not here, but Donna's going to read what she wrote.
Perla said, documentation was needed to prepare a faculty contract. No sooner than I requested the information, it came through my email. Exceptional service in record time. Thank you, Bernadette.
Thank you.
I would like to thank Perla, even though she's no longer with us, for recognizing my work efforts. And I strive to do the best that I can at my job, and I have enjoyed working for SFCC.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I can second Perla's nomination. Every time I've needed copies of a transcript to do an evaluation, it's like Bernadette gets it to me right away. So it's been great, Bernadette. That's the president's report.
Okay. Do we have public comment?
We do. Kimberly Gonzalez.
Okay, Kimberly.
Good evening, Chairman Abeta, Mr. Grissom, members of the board. I'd like to bring to the attention of the board, in light of the recent negative publicity about the leadership of SFCC, some recent developments directly related. I thought it would be important for you to know that yesterday there was an attempt to have me terminated without cause. I would like to clarify that I'm not on a probationary status, as I have been employed by the college since October of 2012. I'm a loyal, hardworking employee, and in an attempt to end the hostile work environment that exists here at SFCC, I'm requesting to halt immediate actions proposed against me so the college can try to move forward. Thank you.
Donna?
That's the only public comment.
Okay. We'll move on to tab B, communication from the Faculty Senate.
Good evening. Hello, Chair, Mr. Beta, Mr. Grissom, Ms. Siegel, Ms. Romero, Ms. Keith, and Sean. Not a whole lot to report at this juncture. Faculty Senate has been working on fulfilling seats on the various council structures and reports there. The ongoing conversation within Faculty Senate of the Affordable Care Act and how it applies to faculty and the work hours and loads accomplished or associated with that. This is not in those particular minutes, I think, that you're looking for. Just trying to catch you update on conversations that will probably be in the next set of minutes, essentially. And then we're also having a conversation seeking clarification between definitions of faculty development and some things that may be associated more to continuing and job training, such as assessment or maybe even advising. And so there's some parsing of definition in there that we're discussing. Other than that, things are running pretty smoothly. We're working on councils and we're teaching classes and working pretty hard. Any questions? Yeah.
How are they defining professional development versus job training?
There are updates in our professional responsibilities as required by our contractual agreement associated with advising and perhaps accreditation as well. And so there's continuing updating of the changing needs that requires. And there's a conversation occurring within Faculty Senate, is that really professional development? We're beginning to define that maybe more as updated training that's necessary to stay current in the position. But there is history within Faculty Senate as to being able to participate in self-determination of what faculty development would be. Perhaps being involved with peers at other institutions, conferences, things that are more related to pedagogy. The integrative teaching that's going on now will be closer certainly to that. And so as we move forward in this, I can speak to it probably more in detail, but that we're increasing our capacity as educators to learn more about pedagogy and working with peers at other institutions. Does that help clarify it?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Staff Senate report.
Good evening. We're busily working away, but a lot of things that we're working on are in process right now. We have developed our own HR committee within the Staff Senate to look at a number of issues that have been bubbling up, but we'd really like to fully vet not HR issues of individual issues, but things like a lot of the staff would like an expanded educational benefit and want to look into that. And there's some weird little things that have developed over time. So, for instance, a staff or faculty member who is technically out of state, if they're listed as an out-of-state resident, but is faculty or staff, they actually get greater educational benefits than those who live in the district because of a strange quirk. And we're working on coming up with a good plan before we move forward to the Administrative Services Council and their HR committee and really work some of these issues out. So those will be percolating out slowly. We have a good committee working on that. We've also been working on our Constitution. We know the board approves a Constitution for us. We decided that in keeping with everything we're doing in post policies and procedures, that we'd like to break up and have our Constitution be a policy approved by the board, but then have a set of bylaws that are procedural so that every time we want to make a small change in how we operate within that we won't have to come to the board and talk to you about it. So that will be coming. We have a good draft going, and we're working on the ratification process. It's taking a little longer than we thought because we're really working very hard to make sure that all of the Spanish-speaking staff have a full opportunity to really understand what's going on and to be able to participate in the voting on that. So. Other than that, we're also working on getting full representation onto the councils, not only our official representatives, but also encouraging staff to participate fully in the councils, whether they are staff Senate representatives or not. And something we're hoping we will keep from coming to you, but there was a little bit of a controversy you might read about in our minutes about because of during the tax prep season, a lot of the staff who work over in the physical fitness center are having a hard time getting parking spots anywhere near where they work, and they were hoping to get assigned parking, which we're hoping that we can find ways around that. We don't want to bring parking issues to the board. So that's it for today.
Kathy?
Zuby, I just wanted to say that I did receive the note that you had sent regarding the selection process. And I was sorry that we as a board couldn't incorporate your suggestions, appreciated those and couldn't incorporate those because we had already announced a public process for selecting a new person. But we will have a special meeting this month to interview finalists for that position. And it is open for any of the staff, Senate or faculty Senate members to come and observe that process.
And President Grissom had passed that on to us, and we talked about it at our last meeting. And our feelings are not hurt that we didn't get involved in the process. We really, the main reason we really wanted to put that out is to let you know that we want to be very actively engaged. And we want to be an active participant and support more as a way to support you than to meddle in your business. So,
Thank you so much.
When I started working here in 1984, I support, and I totally support, expanded educational benefits for our staff. I think it's really critical, and so whatever you come up with that's going to be beneficial, you know, and in that it should go further than an AA, and that it should include, you know, certain workshops or certain things that are going on for the entire faculty, I mean, the entire staff, whatever position they be in, because there's a lot of stuff out there that we, back then, we as a staff could have benefited more from. So I really appreciate that you're working on it and that you bring it forward, and you know, I support that.
And I will relay that to the staff at our meeting tomorrow. I'm sure they'll be very happy to hear that.
Cool. Anything else, Randy? Anything?
Just to add to that, you know, a couple of the issues are the fact that we allow people to take 5 credit hours. Most classes are 3, so it kind of is a little crazy that we don't have it at 6. We need to look at that. But the other issue is, I just want to remind everybody, the board did approve, and we did approve that our faculty, our staff, our employees can use their educational benefits at New Mexico Highlands through the HEC, and Highlands has done the same thing. Their faculty and staff can use their educational benefits at Santa Fe Community College. So we do have the ability for some people to take bachelor's degree, junior and senior level courses, and even master's degree through our ERB program.
Thank you very much. Or did you?
No, I'm going to ask. Mr. Chair, I'd like to ask Randy a question about the councils, since both the Senate faculty and staff have mentioned the councils and their participation. Can you just give us a quick update on what's happening with those?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, members of the board, what we've done is we've gone back, we worked on this, we've narrowed it down. We've had 7 councils, we've narrowed it down to 4. We're trying to be more project-based than policy-based. So we're going back to the old shared governance model for the policy programs, and we'll be reinstituting the Governance Council, which is still in policy, but it had gone away. And we're going to meet on Thursday afternoons between 3 and 5. So we thought we'd get some consistency. And so each of the 4 councils has a first Thursday, second Thursday, third Thursday, or fourth Thursday. And we felt that was best. That was a time of day when faculty could more likely participate. And so we're trying to focus more on projects with deliverables. We've designated some of the councils that went away became subcommittees of one of the 4 councils. So the 4 councils, if I remember correctly, are administrative services and student success is one. One is administrative services, one is institutional effectiveness, and one is technology. Okay. And then we have some standing committees like curriculum committee, advising committee, report to academic affairs and student success. We'll have some ad hoc committees that report. But we wanted to get more towards we're actually doing projects and real things and not death by policy.
But then when we want to do or need to do policy issues, where do those go?
So policy issues can arise and can be discussed within a council, but they go through the shared governance process for approval. So they will have to go to staff senate, faculty senate, the executive council, and the shared governance council before it comes to the board.
Right.
And that's the way the policy is currently written. Now, we may, as we review our policies, we may tweak that a little bit, and we'll do that through a process.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Student government report?
See, okay, making sure that's on. Good evening, everybody. I just have a couple things. I wanted to mention that our SGA meeting is tomorrow from 12 to 1 in Hemis 3. So everyone's welcome. And if you can, the teachers let your students know just to keep them up. Maybe we could get more enrollment. And the second thing would be Spring Fling in April. And I hate to do this, but we have our secretary back there. Do you happen to remember the date? All right. At the next meeting, I'll give you the date of the Spring Fling. I just know it's in April. So, and that's it.
Okay. Thanks. Tab C, approval of consent agenda. So we've got for the special board meeting from January 7th, a special closed board meeting from January 16th, a work session meeting of January 28th, and the board meeting of January 28th. Do we have a motion to approve?
I move approval of the consent agenda.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, the motion passes, and so we're that's fine. Okay, matters relating to SSC policy, final reading approval, and that'll be Dr. De La Rosa, correct? On SFC technology equipment renewal and replacement policy. Did I catch you by surprise?
Just in case there's questions.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, Mr. President, we're here to request for final approval and adoption of SFCC Policy 8-2, which is SFCC Technology Equipment Renewal and Replacement Policy. As I have discussed during the last board meeting, we just want a more consistent way of prioritizing how we can replace our equipment here on campus and make sure that we get inputs from the Technology Council and the different constituencies on campus, which are the faculty and the staff, so that at least we know that the technology that we will provide is adaptable to what they need to teach and to do their jobs.
Any questions? All right, do we have a
I
motion?
have a comment.
Okay.
This is the first time I've noticed at the bottom of the policy, and I don't know if this is new, where we're putting the document history, which I think is great, the approval of each of the entities that have we done that before? I never noticed.
Not to that extent,
Yeah.
Mr. Chair and board members, but this is one of the things we're looking at as we start updating all the policies, is getting consistent, and this is one of the items that we thought was best practice.
Yeah, I think it's very important to see that people can't have approved these and there's no shock if everybody's on here as having approved it. So thanks for doing that.
All right, do we have a motion for the Santa Fe, Community College Technology Equipment Renewal and Replacement Policy?
I move the policy.
All right, second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Thank you very much.
Thank you. That motion passes.
Now, do we include all the consent agenda items on that motion?
No.
So I better move the minutes, that we approve those minutes.
So we approved those.
We did approve those? Okay,
Yeah.
separately, okay.
We don't have action items removed from the consent agenda. So the next one is action items, approval of the financial report.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Mr. President, members of the board. I will be brief for two reasons. One, because we covered most of the detail of the January financial report at the January meeting, as we discussed in the work session earlier today. And so let me hit just a couple of brief highlights, and then I'll be available for your questions. As of January 31st, the key issue that we were concerned about at the December meeting was the liquidity of the institution. And as we indicated prospectively to the board at the December meeting, the appropriation receipts that we expected did in fact materialize. So as of the end of January, as we spoke about earlier today, And let me flip over to a page for reference because I believe it is perhaps among the most significant, which is page E22 of your exhibit. Whereas in December, we had an actual cash position that was the bottom of our cash flow cycle for the school year. As you can see, in December and January, our mill levy receipts kicked in along with state appropriations. And so as of January 31st, operations are nominal. I was concerned when we, both at the December and January meetings, I was concerned that our revenues were being outpaced by our ING expenses. That has now reversed. As is noted on page E17 on the MD&A report for January 31st, that's reversed by about 5% to the positive, and that's the position that we should hold in for the remainder of the year. As we discussed earlier, all of our revenues are up about 2 or 3% from where they were a year ago, which validates our decision to ask the board to approve an increased mid-year budget adjustment request in December. Auxiliary units are nominal. As we discussed at the January meeting, it's our expectation that food services should approximately break even. We believe that will continue to hold. We estimated that our subsidy for Kids Campus would run somewhere between about $96,000 and $122,000. We believe we'll be on the low end of that based on where we are right now. And I think those are actually the highlights. The only other notable thing I'd point out, only because Ms. Siegel was not with us earlier, is that we successfully changed the schedule and had the January 31st available for the February meeting, which is a good thing going forward. So our information is more fresh. I am not going through the December report in detail unless you ask me to, mainly because we discussed it in January and there's nothing there you don't already know. And so there you are, open for questions.
Question.
Go ahead.
My apologies for not being here for the discussion. So I'm looking at on E24 where we have expenditures for actually many months, though not very much, even the last 3 months with much higher percentages of expenses.
Yes.
Than prior years.
And this would relate, Ms. Siegel, directly to, I apologize for your question. I'm sorry.
My question is, why is that?
Okay, yes. This would relate, I was just looking at that earlier before the meeting tonight as well. That relates directly to the salary comparison that President Grissom and I presented to the board a few weeks ago. And basically what you're seeing there is the effect of increased instructional expense. My expectation, and Mr. President, you correct me if this is too high certainty, I believe what we will see as we move toward the end of the school year is you will see those lines reconverge because in conjunction with the bar request that the board approved in December, what we expect to see is revenues that were previously unbudgeted feed into these line items, and they will relatively balance out the effect of the expenses. So I think what you'll see as we get toward the end of the school year, the blue and red lines, to use a non-tech phrase, will be kind of football shaped. I think you will see those come closer together toward the end of the year. But yes, you're correct in the observation that at this point in the year, relative to last year, our instructional expenses are indeed higher.
Okay, anyone else?
Okay.
All right, so I'd like to have a motion for approval of the financial report December 13th and January for 2014.
I move approval.
Second.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, the motion passes. Thank you, Brian.
My pleasure. Mr. President, I'm not sure if Andy is here. Do you want me to stay for these? Okay.
Okay, so approval of property disposal? Is that what you're?
Yes.
Okay, who is Dadio?
He's our director of our capital projects.
Right. And a fine one indeed. And Andy Dadio is one of our employees who was working as a term temp for about 2 years, and that's one of the positions we discussed with the board a few weeks ago that we have permanentized, and a good addition to our team.
Great. All right. Go ahead, Brian.
The issue here, again, Mr. Chairman, Mr. President, and members of the board, is that under NMSA 78, Section 13-6, we cannot dispose of obsolete assets without, first of all, going through the proper channels internally, which is the formation of an administrative committee, and then having gone through that process, we then must submit to the board for approval. So the list that you are looking at that has been reviewed by the president, the CFO, the director of facilities and maintenance, Mr. Daddio, director of capital accounts, and our CIO, Dr. De La Rosa, is composed of obsolete electronic assets. Dr. De La Rosa just was explained to me that many of these go back as early as 2004. And so the purpose of this resolution, these are assets that are now qualified for release into the state disposition process. And having been approved internally, this is what we're submitting to the board for approval, is to allow us to go ahead and release them for the state of New Mexico to dispose of them.
I have a question on that. They used to, years ago, what they used to do was they'd send them to a certain place, and other nonprofits and different people could apply for them. Is that still happening, or is it a type of thing that is really obsolete with some of this stuff that's like old stuff? I don't know.
Mr. Chair and members of the board, I believe that is still happening somewhat, but with the change in technologies, some things are even so obsolete nobody even wants it for free. If you look on here, you'll see Gateway Computers, pages of them, and they haven't been in business for quite a while either. So,
and won't run modern software that our students use on their phones, for instance. Yeah.
But they do still go. That opportunity is there.
But we have a Baldwin walnut piano. Number one on
the issue would be that if the asset has fallen into the criteria, and that's what Andy's function is that he's monitoring this list. So there may be assets that are non-electronic here. If the asset falls within the disposition criteria, then essentially it goes through the process, and that's true. I've noticed a few of those myself.
In a youth program that I used to work with, like we had like musical instruments, and they would like consumables. We'd have like great guitars, but after 3 or 4 years, they're consumables that aren't supposedly good anymore.
Yes.
And we had to turn them back into the state.
Yes, absolutely agreed, Mr. Chairman. As a fellow musician, I completely appreciate that. The issue here is that, which I know the board is familiar with, NMSA 78, Section 13, the purpose of the law is to prevent assets of that nature from disappearing before the state can make a decision about it, because they especially things like musical instruments, have an astonishing ability to grow legs and walk away. So that's why the process has been formalized this way. So, and again, this is not an internal procedure. This is a state procedure. We followed it internally, and then the next step is for the board to approve it externally, in a sense, and then we go from there. So this is the nature of the resolution.
Okay. Any other questions? All right. Any other comments, there, Brian?
No, sir.
All right. So. We'd like to have a motion to approve property disposal, as it's stated in our notes and stuff.
So moved.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. All right. Thank you, Brian. You're going to do the next couple of ones too?
One more, and this is actually very brief. In October, the board passed a resolution to clarify which roles, which positions on campus have the authority to serve as signatories for various purposes. And at that time, we made those roles. The board approved making those roles: the president, chief financial officer, and the vice president of academic affairs. What Mr. Daddio realized earlier this year, late last year, is that we required those signatories as well for capital outlay issues, but we did not ask the board to approve that in October. So what this resolution simply does is ask the board to authorize that for capital outlay purposes, that the same 3 signatories that are signers on our commercial bank accounts for the institution are the signers for capital outlay. There is some internal discussion that may come back to the board at some point in a few months that this may not be the best arrangement of signatures for capital outlay, but what we're trying to do here is make sure that we have this appropriately corrected for the short term, and then we'll deal with that issue in the longer term.
I think in any kind of situation like that we've run across before is that it's, that you don't know about it, that there's 3 people that are signing for it that are, so I as long as it's something that is really out there and it's okay, then I feel good with it. But
yes, and Mr. Chairman, that's what Mr. Dedio, when he was appointed to his new position, one of the first things he did was start looking at things like signature authority. And what we found, as we did with the bank accounts, we had an obsolete position, we had a non-existent person, and so in essence, what we were doing was kind of ad hoc signing. And these are, as everyone knows, these are all state-regulated acquisitions, just like our bank accounts. So the purpose of this is simply to align those signatures with the bank accounts so that the board and the administration are all on the same page. And then if we choose to change this for capital outlay, that's another discussion, and we'll visit with the board about that in coming weeks.
But right now, this is the best we can do, right?
Mr. President?
This matches what we said we were going to do. We just didn't take it through board approval.
Right, correct.
I move approval.
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.
All right, now we would like to do the announcement and approval of board replacement finalists. And before we do that, I think I would like to make a public statement that we really do want to thank. It was 23 applicants we had for our board replacement, and we really appreciate that those people who did apply, that shows concern of the community, and I think that's wonderful that we do have that, and that's a great thing. So, Martha?
As a secretary to the board, let me make that motion. I want to say that this list of 23 people was an incredibly qualified, outstanding list of people, and we were really gratified that we had so many applicants with such great interest in the college. I think that speaks well for all of you. It speaks well for the college. It speaks well for the work that we're doing. Because it was 23 very well qualified applicants, we had a hard time figuring out how do we narrow down. And as our process said, we would narrow down to 3 that we would interview and then select from those 3 a final group. We developed a rating scale. Each one of us independently rated the 23 applicants, sent our independent ratings to Donna Wells, who compiled the list, and then from that we took the 3 top candidates. So I would move that we approve for interviews John Tull, Owen Lopez, and Pablo Cedillo.
Second. All those in favor of the nominations?
Aye.
Okay, anyone opposed? Motion passes. And did you want to say the date when we're going to do the interviews and stuff?
Sure. We have selected March the 11th as the date at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. It is an open meeting. We will be interviewing each of the 3 candidates so that anyone who wants to sit in on those interviews will have the opportunity to do so. And then we will, after that, select someone who will be then sworn in at the following board meeting, which is the
March 26th.
March 26th.
I think another thing that just to point out, you would start thinking about this and saying, well, oh my God, if the first guy gets all the questions and the other guys are in here, then they have an advantage. So Randy has already spoken to the three people or to all of them, whoever, and they're going to be in another room while we're interviewing each one to make it as fair as possible with our questions. And we've developed the questions from nationwide type things that have been going on in interviewing board members and stuff. So I think we've got a good handle of it, and I think and with the top 3 folks, I think we're going to get some good folks. That's it. So the motion passes, and that's good. That's good to move on. we have information items, and these are all written reports, so do we need to go through each of these reports, or because they're written reports?
Only if you have questions, Mr. Chair.
Huh?
Only if people have questions, then we could do that.
Okay. Do any of you have board questions, you mean?
Yes.
Okay, so you're okay with that, Deborah? Okay.
Actually, I'd like to just hear real briefly about the foundation. The revenue that came in from.
All right. Deborah, briefly? You got a minute there, girl. No.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, President Grissom, members of the board. We're actually on par, Member Siegel, with the income that we brought in from last year. It's about $605,000, and I'm sorry I don't have the report in front of me because I wasn't planning to give.
Yes.
And that's for the first 6 months compared to the same period last year. So we're talking about July 1st to December 31st, 2013. And that was the 6-month period of time that I was reporting on. We had a very successful year-end campaign that generated $122,000. And at the time of the 6-month period, it was about at 105. That's probably about 4 times greater than we've ever done before.
Wow.
And had a lot to do with using clean, good data, new mailing lists, having matching funds through the Contract for Better Tomorrow program, which we have matched now, $50,000, and we get $50,000 from the Dominica Fund, and $60,000 from Title V for Hispanic and low-income students. And we had a goal of 30 scholarships for our 30th anniversary, and we're at 15 today, and we're planning to do another 15 before June 30th.
Great. Okay.
Those are just some highlights.
Yes, thank you. Okay.
I think one of the things you might want to notice in your report is the goal of 30 new scholarships for the 30th anniversary. And at this point, we have 14 new scholarships that are sponsored by particular people. Rick and Kathy Abels have endowed a scholarship that will be eligible for Title V. All of these are eligible for Title V. Susan Dugan, Dr. James Miller, Sr. and Mrs. Mildred Miller, George A. Tate, Nan Rader Tate, and those are all Title V eligible, so they will be matched by the Title V money.
And what is the amount of a scholarship?
The amount of scholarships.
No, what
Endowed.
what is an
The endowed
how much
scholarship.
Is an
Oh, well, to endow a regular scholarship is $8,000, and a presidential scholarship is $15,000. And now we have to come up with a third category because people are giving us more money and asking for a new category. So our board's working on that. We're also
a higher caliber.
That's right.
Higher.
Something
Okay,
besides
really?
presidential. Love to have your input on that.
And 3 of these are presidential endowed.
Yes, that's great.
It is great. Yeah, and we got a really good response.
Mr. Chair, just want to remind the board, anybody that's in the audience or watching on TV, we still have matching funds. So if somebody wants to do another endowed scholarship, we do have matching funds still available this year.
So that means that for a regular scholarship, $4,000 would be the amount. And so we have families and civic groups, all kinds of organizations that are working to raise money for those scholarships. They're in process, so we'll announce them as they come in.
All right, thank you very much.
Deborah, you know, having worked in GED and adult basic education, I'm a big supporter of any scholarships for GED graduates and students that have come up through English as a second language to take their GED and to move on to the college. So I've always been an advocate for that. So I'm just
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, I'm very well aware of that, and we were so lucky to receive a matching grant from the Mexican federal government this past year, and some of those funds will be used this year for our adult education programs. So we're really, really pleased with that. Those funds are specific for students of Mexican origin and descent. So that's a lot of our students fall into that category, and we're thrilled to have money from a foreign government.
Really.
Thank you, Deborah.
Thank you.
We don't have any matters related to SFC policy, but is there any anything that either of the board members would like to say before we go into section 13? I'd like to say something. I want to remind folks, first of all, as a Vietnam vet, we're bringing a duplicate, the wall to Fort Marcy on March the 19th. And if there's any students that would want to be involved in whatever way, we do have the veteran group that I'm part of, Vietnam Vet Group, to be part of it. It was very emotional. I was very lucky to have Congressman Ben Ray Lujan take me to the Vietnam Wall, and I cried. It was very emotional. So, we want to let the students know and put out the information as much as possible. It'll be happening from the 19th. We already have young folks from the Youth Works program are going to be setting up the wall. And the plan was because of the way Vietnam vets think and the way they are, we're opening it 24/7 from Wednesday all the way to Sunday, 24/7, and we have police and whoever we need to be, security or whatever. But if you do want to be involved, or if you want to have people read things, we're going to have a candlelight vigil and things like that. So that another thing I wanted to say was I just want to reiterate the fact, and I think I've said this many times, that I really believe that our board should always reflect our community, because we do have a diverse community, and I think we do reflect that, and I believe in that it should reflect our community and reflect our students and who they are and stuff. So I just wanted to say that. Did any comments or anything? Okay, so
Mr. Chair, I just wanted to, under tab I, that's a test of my vision, we have listed on the agenda the Tuesday, March 25th date as our next meeting. That date has been moved. So
right.
I hope that we can strike that on the agenda that's listed on the website, so there's no confusion about when our next meeting is. Yeah.
Okay, and also it said that there would be an early meeting, but that's taken care of because it was to be announced.
Right.
All right. Anything else? Okay, so we're going to be going into closed session, and it authorizes the board to retire to closed session to discuss limited personnel matters and pending threatened litigation. So we'll be doing that. A motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Let's do it. And if you're going to stay